Thank you for another show of Black Men Ventures Fireside Chat. We have Alan Johnson here. From tell me more about Let me speak. Let me open the floor to you. Tell me more about you and who you are.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, John. I never want to take these opportunities to talk for granted and opportunities to share for granted. So thank you for your time and your opportunity to share on your platform. I've been watching Black Men Ventures really from the beginning, and to see you guys have evolved here just lets me know that you guys are just doing wonderful work. And I'm a father first. I am a husband. I'm a son. I am a business owner, entrepreneur. I'm an author. I'm an investor. I'm a community leader. I'm a owner of a nonprofit, director of a nonprofit. I don't think you ever own a nonprofit. You direct a nonprofit. I am an average golf player. All those things. I think, the beautiful thing about my life and the beautiful thing about real estate, which is, I think what people really know me for, Age 18 Realty, is that you have to be a little bit just multifaceted, right? And I think the best businessmen we're singularly focused but multifaceted.
Gotcha. And when you see, and that's great, when you say singly focused but multifaceted within the same industry, or just multifaceted as far as just an individual, who you are, how do you think about the world? Like, I'm interested in learn a little bit more about that statement.
Yeah, I think for me, I've been able to learn at the feet of my father, right? And my father is an entrepreneur. I grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia. Louisa County to be exact, which is just outside of Charlottesville. And he owned a landscaping business. And as I went to school at George Mason, he started to morph into more owning real estate. And the one thing that I saw my dad is he was successful at both of those businesses because he was able to talk on a lot of different levels, right? He was able to connect with people on many different levels. And when I say multifaceted, that's what I've been able to do, and that's where a lot of my successes has come from. A lot of doors have opened simply because I was interested, simply because I've known people, simply because I've been more interested in them than being interested in myself. So, when I say multifaceted, it's just more of just being open to the people that you have the opportunity to be around, and real estate has been the thing that I've been really, really good at. Right. And that's the thing that I've always tried to hang my hat as being a professional on. All these other things are good opportunities, but being really good at one thing and driving at that one thing for a long time can lead to many opportunities, especially in business.
That's great, man. And I have a question because it hit me real quick when you just said something. It was you made a statement about as far as like the evolution of focusing more on the building the relationships aspect, right? And I'm interested to know, during your path, what was that thing that hit you to say, I'm more people focused than just the business? Because as entrepreneurs, we can get really tied in and bogged down by the business and not think about the people. Right? Was that something that you came to learn, like watching your father, or is that just something that evolved as you got older as a business owner and matured as a business owner?
Yeah. So certainly learned watching my father. I vividly remember, like, when we would go places, he would know someone everywhere. Right. Mm-hmm. And when I was young, it used to irritate me because I just wanted to go. I wanted to go home. I wanted to go to the basketball court. I wanted to go play video games. I wanted to go with my friends. But my dad was always talking to someone. And now my kids say the same thing about me. Like, literally, I cannot go anywhere. I can go out of state and meet somebody, right? I can go out of the country. And I've always heard my dad say he never went somewhere where he didn't have a friend, or he couldn't make a fast friend, or didn't have a connection. And what we don't tell a lot of people is that's a skill set, right?
Yeah.
That is something that literally can get you paid, right? If you honor it and you do it well. And I didn't know that I was learning the art of people, which is the art of sales, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we do primarily is real estate sales. My wife and I run AJ Team Realty. This year we'll sell 230 homes at over $100 million worth of volume.
Wow.
And a majority of that, and that's just this year, right?
Yeah.
A majority of that business comes from long relationships, come from
Right.
people that I meet, whether it's someone that I met, 10 days ago that I've had to establish authority, getting to know them, or someone that I've known for years, almost decades at this point.
Wow. And I'm assuming you meet people golfing as well.
You people definitely very strategic. Although I love golf, you get to learn a lot about a person over 4 hours of playing golf with them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. No, that's so great, man. It's so great to hear. Like every time I think about the business, I always think about how we have to kind of put more focus and conversation on the development side of it, of who you are, the development side of honing on those skills, just as much as we're looking at the business side of making money, right? And I'm glad you touched on that because it's like a very important topic. So you said you grew up in Charlottesville. How did that environment mold you? You said your dad was an entrepreneur, obviously, so you've seen entrepreneurship skills and traits, and you wasn't only looking at or seeing people from a 9 to 5. You actually seen somebody that built their own business. Yeah. How did that mold you? I would say, and Charlottesville. How did growing up in Charlottesville mold you?
Well, I grew up around in the surrounding area, but my dad ran a landscaping business that was based in Charlottesville, right? The business was there. So growing up in Charlottesville was great for me because it was University of Virginia is in Charlottesville, and I was able to see something that was different than most, right? So I always knew that I was going to be college bound. I always knew that I was going to go to this place to further my education, which ended up being George Mason University. But seeing it, being able to drive past, an institution of higher learning,
and the repetition of probably seeing it often too
was great, right? Distinctly, I knew that I was first generation college. So
your father didn't go to college?
Did not. No, my dad's got a crazy story. My dad graduated from a segregated school because in Virginia, his county, Fluvanna County, was one of the last schools that integrated.
Wow.
My mom helped integrate her school in Charlottesville.
Wow.
My dad taught himself how to read after high school. He taught at the same time he was teaching me how to read, right? He was a meat manager at Safeway in Charlottesville. Ended up like just being a natural born, I can get it doneer, right? And outside of being a meat manager, he would always have these people that he met and people that he was having these wonderful conversations with that really liked him. And in a conversation, someone asked him if he could do some handyman work. Well, my dad said, I can figure it out. Went and did it. He got hired, and then that's how he ended up building his business. I talked to my dad a lot about what was that journey from being an employee to an employer.
Right.
And he just talks about the fact that you got to fill a need, right? And that once you fill that need, you got to put everything that you can into it. Growing up, seeing my dad, it's funny. You said a 9 to 5er. Well, being an entrepreneur is a 9 to 9er, right?
Right.
Yes. A lot of people don't understand the sacrifice, but I saw the sacrifice, right?
Right.
Every day, I was the kid that was, on at the end of the month, I was licking envelopes and sending out invoices. I was the kid that was, on the back of the truck,
you were involved.
Grabbing the lawnmower and as an employee. So not only did I have the benefit, but I also saw the work. And I think that, as a young
I want to ask you a question. Real quick. Now, a lot of people in the entrepreneurship world may be struggling to make that leap. Did you feel that seeing the benefits, seeing that this thing can work firsthand, did that play a role in when you were ready to, make that leap, right? And my next question is, is there anything that mentally that's there that you think, from your experience, that you just think that we just are blocking, right? We just think these things exist and they really don't exist as far as blockage, as far as entering or starting a business. Is there anything there that you think is holding us back? I would say mentally, as far as a community that is kind of like, why don't you jump off? Why don't you do that?
Yeah. So yeah, certainly me seeing it, modeling it helped for sure. Being able to have my dad be a mentor, and also be someone who I could go talk to him about what was going on, even though he wasn't in my industry. It helped my mindset, right? And I knew that that I had what was in me. I had what I needed in me to be able to succeed. I knew that, right? I remember the day that I made the conscious decision 2 years out of college at George Mason to go into the real estate business and really go into real estate sales. And my dad was the first person I called when I made that decision. So
those 2 years, did you work for somebody else?
Yeah, I worked in used car sales in Fairfax, Virginia for 2 years.
Okay.
Which I think sales is a wonderful place for young entrepreneurs to start, because it
gives you a base.
It is a base. You're commission based, and it gets those juices flowing. It gets you used to not having a consistent check. You have to save, and you got to do those things. So 2 years in, I went straight into real estate. And then what do I think could why
did you pick real estate? What was the thing that made you pick real estate?
Yeah. So I picked real estate because my dad was in real estate, but he wasn't necessarily in real estate sales. So my dad owned real estate, but he wasn't in real estate sales, right? Okay. So I was familiar with it. What also and it was I've told the story before. When I graduated from George Mason, my dad said, "Hey, I got a graduation gift for you when you're ready." Right? He left it like that. And 2 years in, I kind of forgot about it. And, I was, talking to him about perhaps buying a house. He said, "All right, now you're ready for your graduation gift." And I said, "Well, what is it?" So my dad gifted me $10,000 to buy my first house.
Wow.
And I think oftentimes we don't, right? We don't have that person that has the sight to say, "I could give you this for that, but I'm going to give you this for this," which was buying a house. And then I ended up getting into real estate because I had a horrible experience. Like it's real estate sales. I tried to go buy a house. I wasn't really feeling the person I was working with.
Before you was in real estate.
Yeah, I don't think they were really necessarily, taking me as seriously as I needed them to. Kept coming back to the fact that maybe this is a sign that I don't need to go buy some real estate. And that day when I came to the dealership, the first person who came to buy a car from me was a young Latino realtor, right? And I just, I believe that God moves, and I believe that, that the Spirit, puts people in front of you. And I decided that I was going to buy a house through him. And simultaneously, I went to Nova Community College and got my real estate license. And the day I settled on my house, I knew that I was going to be I was in real estate sales, because it wasn't that I was doing the job. It was that I could see myself doing it.
Right.
I could see myself doing it. And I was like, oh man, I know all these people from George Mason. I got great relationships with. They're all going to have to buy a house.
It was just that specific situation that gave you that spark because you were going through the process of buying your own home?
Yep, that was it.
Wow. Man, that's power. All it takes is a start, man. A start can come from anywhere.
It can. You gotta be ready for it.
Yeah, you gotta be ready for it. Yeah, and you gotta see it. It seemed like immediately when you was watching that process, you put yourself there. Right, doing, because I hear a lot of that, right? As entrepreneurs, as builders, we have these ideas, but we never take the next step. Like, I'm interested to know, like, right after you've seen yourself, what did you do? I mean, to the T, did you start working on yourself mentally? Did you start working out? Like, what did you do to prepare to start that journey? And how has it progressed since then?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was take the class, right? So I realized I was 2 years out of school. So I really
Yeah.
wasn't interested in taking any classes, but I knew I was interested in real estate.
Yeah.
So instead of they weren't doing online classes, they were doing evening classes, and I knew I wanted to be in a college environment. I knew that's where I learned best. So I went back to a community college to do it. Right. Number two, I saved money. Right. So the blessing was that, in used car sales, we worked so much. We worked every weekend. We were working we had one day off, and I was pretty successful at it. So I saved a bunch of money. Right. So, as I was going into real estate, I just knew I knew I wanted to be good at it. I knew I wanted to know what I was doing, and I wanted to be a professional real estate agent. And not just have a license, because there's a distinct difference between two of them, right? A lot of people have license, not a lot of people are professionals, right? Number two, I wanted to go in and not be hungry for a paycheck. I wanted to go in and work really hard and earn, but I didn't want to be commission. I didn't want to have commission breath. Like I wanted to, when I stepped in front of someone, I didn't want to have to close the sale because I needed a commission check.
Yeah. Oh, it's so different. Oh, it's the art of not having to worry about money. It makes you totally different, And so, are you saying that you were able to save up your money and before you got into real estate, and when you got into real estate, you were already in that position?
Yeah. So when I was going into real estate, I remember I bought a house, right? I had 6 months worth of income saved up.
Wow.
Now back then I didn't have kids,
Yeah. There's a lot of other things involved.
I was a cheap 6 months. Like I didn't need a whole lot to survive.
Yeah.
I had my cars were used cars. They were paid off. So I was just paying insurance. I think I had a roommate. In fact, I know I had 2 roommates at the townhouse that I was living in. So I wasn't paying, full load for the place I was in. I was just preparing myself. So over the next 6 months, I could just focus on the blocking and tackling of being a new business owner.
Yeah. Critical, very strategic, very necessary too, because we jump off and we then don't realize that it takes a lot to survive as an entrepreneur, especially in the growing stages. So to prepare yourself like, this is about to happen, I need at least 6 months reserve, and actually do that within 2 years is pretty incredible. Yeah. I know it's probably a different time now, but NFTs and there's a lot of different ways you can make money. Coins, a lot of different ways you can make investments now. Well, and speaking about some of those things, are you diversifying your portfolio into any type of crypto or any type of alternative real estate, like mixed use spaces or commercial spaces? Are you into any of those?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we own a couple of apartment buildings. We do developments. We do ground up development where we build homes actually back in the area where I grew up, ground up construction. Obviously insurances, so I want to make sure that they're set. But I stick to what I know. I come from a sports background, so you never saw Michael Jordan shooting a bunch of threes. He kind of got on that block and did what he did, a little turnaround jumpers mid range, and got and I also saw my dad really focus on just a couple of things. He focused on real estate, he focused on being a business owner, and later in his life he started to focus on stocks. So I know what I know, and I know that I'm smart enough that if I don't know it, I need to hire a professional that knows it better than I do. And I don't mind paying professionals if I'm going into somewhere that's a little bit different for me.
For sure. Yeah, man. Sports. You play sports growing up?
I did. I played basketball. I walked on to the basketball team at George Mason University. I learned a lot there as well. Being the guy who didn't get a whole lot of playing time, you had to learn how
as sports, how has being in whatever role you played in sports, how has that molded you, right? Because I'm in the same boat. I grew up in Brooklyn. I moved to the Hampton Roads area. You're familiar with 757, very big sports area, and that really changed my outlook, like on my past, right? When I was able to get with an organization and get that molding, get that guidance, and teaching you patience and all of those different things, right? So yeah, please share like how has that, growing up in college, how has that helped you, within your, who you are now, within who you are?
Yeah, so I got cut from the basketball team my 11th grade year. And hurt my feelings. I'm like, basketball's every, and if you get cut, you still got to go back to school, right? So getting cut, it really hurt. It hurt my pride, but it strengthened my resolve, right? Because I ended up going back. I remember that 11th grade year going, my dad said, look, if you love basketball, let's just go get you in any league. I think he ended up getting me in a YMCA league. I was playing with guys who didn't make the basketball team, obviously, like me, but I was there, and I was really, I knew I loved the game. In my 11th grade year, I'm positive I made the team because I just wouldn't quit. Like I would not quit. And I was just going to show up and be a good teammate.
Yeah.
And I played with a really, really good group of guys. We ended up having 4 Division I basketball players on my high school team.
Wow.
And as I was going to college, playing basketball at that level wasn't really a dream of mine. It was just, I knew I still loved the game. So I was making great friends at the field house at George Mason. I was playing against great guys. And what I didn't know is I was getting better every day, right? I was going to the field house. I was working out. I was playing against guys who were old college players. Every 4 days a week, we were in there grinding until I got to my junior year. And I ended up, by happenstance, being in the gym with Coach Larinaga, who coached Coach L, who coached the Final Four team at George Mason.
Yeah.
He was there. He was a first-year coach. When first-year coaches come, they end up blowing up their teams. They end up having opportunities for people to walk on until they can get their recruits in.
Yeah.
And they asked me if I wanted to play.
Wow.
And I ended up playing on that team and still learning a lot there. And not being a scholarship player was another thing that you had to walk through, but you still had to put, even though you weren't a scholarship player, you still had to put scholarship effort out, right?
Sure. And it tests your ego as a young man.
Yep, definitely did. Yep, tested me. And but what I ended up learning was that I could play at a higher level.
Yeah.
And that just because delays don't necessarily mean denials.
Ooh, good.
So for me, I ended up playing a half a season there, but I learned so much. I proved to myself that I could play at the highest level. I ended up starting. I remember the same Coliseum that I sat on the bench in high school and didn't play at all.
You played in high school.
Coming back. 4 years later, coming back and starting against UVA at that same arena as a college player.
Wow.
Yeah.
At home.
Wow.
Yeah, that's gonna be a moment. Yeah, that's gonna be a moment you ain't gonna forget forever.
No.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. So more about you as a father. How has that journey been for you? How has that been able to because I'm a father too. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and it really showed me that I had to be more disciplined with my time. Right. I had to really map out, my hours. It's no more of that luxury of just, getting things done when you get things done, because you have a whole other person or people depending on you, right? So that's my outlook on fatherhood. I love it. It has its journeys in entrepreneurship, right? But wondering about you, as an entrepreneur, you're married. How has that, fatherhood has changed you? How have you adjusted to running a business and being a father? That's a real thing.
Sydney and Camilla, I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, girl dad for sure. And I look at it as an awesome opportunity, right? My wife is my business partner. So they get to see us work together, right? They get to see us work together on multiple levels, right? They get to see the late nights, right? The things that I saw my dad do. They get to see the early mornings. They get to see the weekends. They get to see what it really takes, because let's be honest, most people want to be entrepreneurs, but if they didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial, environment, they don't know
what it takes.
The work that it takes to be an entrepreneur, the extra work that it takes.
The long hours.
Yeah, man.
The long hours, yeah.
Yeah, the voluntary hours and non-voluntary hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So just able to provide my kids with the flexibility and the lifestyle that they have has been a blessing. Being able to take week-long vacations. Last year, I talked to my wife, and last year we just celebrated our 13-year anniversary, literally a couple of days ago.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
My wife reminded me that she had been on some type of vacation or trip every month this year, right?
Wow.
And but it's taken us 18 years of real estate to get to that point.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but it's worth it. It's worth it, right? Because it's no amount of time that, you can put on being free, right? Especially if you're going to work, 40, 50 years for somebody else.
Right.
You might as well at least work 20 years for yourself and, free. It's worth it at the end of the day. Being able to show your kids something and show them that you all can do it together and you all enjoy it. Right now, you're able to express upon your kids and your legacy. So, that's to me, that's what it's about. As far as our community, we need to hear more stories like that. Like we need to hear the family. Denials.
Yeah.
Delays does not mean denials. Have you experienced any of that during that journey in real estate, that you wanted to do something maybe in the earlier years that you were maybe denied on, and then now you're able to do that? I'm assuming larger developments is probably one of the biggest things, but I'll let you talk about that if you can name one scenario or one example if you can.
Yeah. So, being in sales business is one of those things where you start from scratch every month, right? You start from scratch every year. Like you rewrite your goals, and no one cares about
last year before, last year.
Every year you're performing again. So,
right.
I remember writing big goals down, like goals of breaking through selling 100 homes a year, and breaking through selling, a certain amount of volume. And I remember feeling like, how am I going to get this done? How am I going to get all this done? And feeling the pressure. Breakthrough for she ended up by, serendipity, ended up leaving where she was and then having some free time, and then ended up joining me about 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. And
you was able to report?
Yeah.
That's good.
And I remember when I started to share a dream, it became the pressure of the dream ended up not being as, I didn't have to have all the answers, right? So the delay for a lot of people is that you are probably trying to do too much on your own. And
ouch.
And things that we've done, like that have been great projects that have been, we own apartment buildings that we turned into Airbnbs. We got a couple of more apartment buildings that are under contract. We're doing ground up construction. We've got an 18 unit, that we're probably about a year away from breaking ground on. Everything is Everything's in a partnership.
Your role within that partnership. You don't have to do it, and that allows you to do more.
I can't do everything. I don't have the time to do everything. I don't have time to run this business, right? To run this $100 million real estate business, volume-based business, and then also, figure out how to be a developer. So,
right.
I always say you're one introduction away, but it's not only that you're one introduction away, you're one valued relationship away, right? And those relationships that we're doing on the scale are people that I've known for years.
Yeah.
The partner that I do my apartment buildings with, we played summer basketball with each other at George Mason. So he went to Bucknell University. He would come home every year and play during the summers with us at George Mason. I knew him when I was 21 years old, right? Wow. So I've known him for 20 plus years. The ground up construction I do with my dad, right? We, we do it together. Just stop.
Trying to do everything else.
Of not breaking through a goal or breaking through something is not a what, it's often a who.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And I believe that. That's a good one. That's a good one. And networking is one of the top things that we don't focus more on in our community. So, I mean, even Sean, he's always said, make the relationship before you need him. That's one thing. When I first met him, he said that, and I was like, man, he's so right, and intentional about it. Not just, I'm going to need this person in the future, because you don't know how these relationships are going to evolve. You really don't. Right? A lot of relationships I got somebody that called me yesterday about doing a gig for them, and partnering with them on something. I haven't talked to this person in like 5 years. All right, and it's just like you said, treat these people good, and even over time, they will still remember you when the opportunity presents itself. So I think you're 100% on point with that.
And let me go one step further. So oftentimes, and Sean is the king of this. Oftentimes, the relationships that you make aren't necessarily for you. Right? They're for the people that are around you. They're for your umbrella. They're for the people, your circle, right? So Sean has relationships that will not necessarily pay him dividends, but will pay me dividends, right? But in turn, if you have the right circle, you got other people that are looking at relationships and opportunities for you.
For you,
right?
Not just you.
Not just you, not just yourself, right? They're looking for relationships for people, and my business has flourished because I'll refer people and I'll put people in contact with each other and never ask for a dime. Right. I know that they're doing multi-million-dollar deals and partnerships and things that are furthering their business. And we think that we need a piece of everything. Right. That's what we think. We think that because they're making money and I introduced each other, that I should have a piece of that. Well, that's not how great business works. Right. Great relationships work when everyone is interchanging, everyone's making introductions, and if there's an opportunity, they're gonna let me know. If I care about them and they care about me, and we have great relationships, they're not gonna leave me out when an opportunity comes, right? But
I was about to say that. How do you determine, if this is an opportunity that you want to be a part of versus forcing or trying to force yourself to be a part of that opportunity? That's a good point. You don't have to be a part of everything. So you don't want to step out there and be like, hey, can I get a percentage of this? And this is something that you should just be doing. But also, you don't want to continue to just give out things, right, and not run a business that you're in real estate.
Right.
So you also want to look at deals for yourself as well, right? So I'm interested to know, how do you determine that a little bit?
Yeah, you just have to be able to add a significant amount of value to the opportunity, right? Okay. And an introduction isn't necessarily a significant amount of opportunity.
Very true. Very true.
A significant amount of value, right? You got to be able to step in and bring something to the table that enhances it, right? And you can't go try to get into every single thing, because if you get into every single thing, you're not going to get into your main thing.
We can end it there. Yeah, if you get into everything, you're never going to get into your main thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got one. I got one more. Story here. So I'm also an author. 50 things your real estate agent should tell you, but probably won't. So I wrote this number one because I was getting a whole bunch of questions about real estate, and as you grow in business, you don't have as much time, right? So it was much easier for me to say, hey, look, I know you got a lot of questions about real estate. Why don't you read the book, and then we can do follow-up questions from there. So it's becoming.
Where can they find that book at?
On Amazon.
It is on Amazon. Okay.
Yeah. So I wrote that book to number one to talk about how I felt and how I saw real estate, right? Mm-hmm. Because I do think that I see real estate differently. I see real estate as an investor. I see real estate as a property manager. I see real estate as a buyer. I see real estate as a seller. I see real estate as a broker. I see real estate as a top 1% broker in the nation. I've seen real estate in 2008 when it crashed. I saw when it was going through the roof. I've seen all types of, I see investment real estate. I see commercial real estate, all those things I've owned, development. I see it all. So I wrote this book from all of those angles, right?
Wow.
So each
chapter, pinpoint all of the different ways that you can enter into the industry with, because those are all jobs that you just named.
Those are all
different entry points.
Those are all jobs, but also opportunities to invest, right? And opportunities to be able to grow. So the way I wrote the book, it's 50 like 1 to 2 page quick hitters, right? So, you know, if you're a seller, you can go into the book, you can pick out the chapter that's relevant to you. If you're a buyer who wants to buy an investment property, you can hit the chapter that applies to you. If you got a tenant with the issue, if you're doing a renovation, if you're doing a flip, if you're doing a hold, anything that you want, I'm 95% sure you can find a chapter that will at least allow you to get to the next question that you need to ask yourself to go there. So we wrote the book. I wrote the book to fund our nonprofit, which is the Be a Blessing Foundation, which goes into Title I schools and does mentoring.
Where?
In Prince William County. Okay.
Prince William County. Okay.
So what we do is we take our clients with us. Most of them are college grads. They come with us once a week. We feed the kids, and I wrote a 33-week curriculum teaching 4th and 5th grade boys about hygiene, confidence, goal setting, how to handle bullying, how to look each other in the eye, how to receive love, how to give love, how to write a business plan. Just a lot of different things. So I wrote the book not necessarily for myself, but for something that I wanted to give through our business, right? Wow. And there are a lot of business owners that you have a book in you, but don't write the book because you want to make money off the book. Opportunities are going to come, right? Opportunities are going to come. Write your book, number one, because you need to tell your story and people need to hear your voice, but also because other people are going to be inspired. And the story ends up like this. So my daughter, Camilla, she comes in, and she's at the door and she says, "Hey, Daddy, I need 2 books. I need 2 books." I'm like, "Okay, cool. The book's over there, whatever." She's like, "I need 2 books for my teacher and my librarian at school." And I'm like, "Okay, let's take the books." And she's wrote this nice little envelope, and she goes and she takes the books, put them in her backpack, gives them to her librarian, gives it to her teacher. The first letter I get back is from the teacher, right? And the teacher says, "Thank you for my book. I'm going to give it to my son because he's in the process of buying a house. I think he would find value." The second letter came from the librarian, and the librarian essentially said that Camilla was so proud that there was an author in her family, and she was so excited that her dad wrote that we could in our library, and everything just came full circle for me at that moment, right? That my 8-year-old, my 8-year-old was proud of me, right?
And it's like you did something to inspire, and then from that, your daughter did something to inspire you, and like I said, there's so many things that you get out of things that you do if you're not intentionally trying to do it for yourself.
It was, and I just said, my last words, take a chance on yourself, right? If you know that this is something that you're purposeful and passionate about, take a chance on yourself. You deserve it. Life is too short. If you fail, you're at the exact same place you were when you started. That's okay.
Yeah.
And then for the people who are in the business, find a way to connect what you do to the greater good. Doesn't mean that you need necessarily go and give your money away or give all your time away, but there is a mentor. There is someone who's coming up behind advice to someone can write that you're doing business with. And then partner. If you are in a position where you want to go to the next level, start to be intentional about the relationships that you have. And you are one partnership away from breaking through to the next level that you want to be at.
Wow. No, that's awesome. Awesome, Alan. I don't want to end it. I want to know about the most expensive. You tell me about these Airbnb. That fast. I need to know what is this? You go from buying. You go from buying a house to saying, oh, I got apartment building now. I turn to Airbnbs.
Honestly, didn't know what I didn't know. I knew that I needed to find funding because I didn't have all the money to buy it at once. I knew I needed to find a bank, and I knew I needed to find a partner because I didn't have time to do the renovations that were necessary. So my partner, who I told you about earlier, was the person that we ended up partnering with because he owned investment real estate and renovated investment real estate like we did.
Right.
And I remember I sent a bunch of letters out to targeted places that we wanted to buy. And I remember someone calling me, and she was basically like, "Hey, you're not going to get what you're looking for with the letter that looks like this, right? Because it was handwritten, it was different, it wasn't. I guess she was a big institution, but she took the time to tell me that my letter was whack, basically." But the next call we got was from someone who was interested in selling the building.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Wow. So what's whack for someone, it may not be maybe an opportunity for someone to sell a building
Exactly.
to you next time.
Exactly.
So we ended up going in and we ended up gutting the buildings. I remember just having the idea because everywhere we go, we stay in Airbnbs, whether we're going to the islands or like 90% of the time we're staying in Airbnb. So we tested the market. So, we took a chance on the product. We did a really, really nice renovation. Through the renovation, we ended up meeting the building owner next door and ended up buying that building as well.
Oh gosh.
Right. So being present and on site, like had we not been had we not been good neighbors, had we not been the type of, had we, walked around with like our butts didn't stink, we probably wouldn't have had the opportunity. So that neighbor was literally, no lie, he was watching us as we were renovating the building and came to us one day and sold us the building. So we ended up with 8 Airbnbs throughout COVID. We've been at above 90% occupancy, which has been great. We've got 2 more buildings that are under contract that we'll go to settlement on before the end of the year.
Is that also in Arlington, or is that another market?
Yep, Arlington.
That's a terrific area, man. Kudos to you to get into that market, man. Like, that's not light. I don't take that light as somebody that's in real estate and construction and development. Arlington is one of those areas, man. Very expensive entry to those markets in those areas. So
it was, but a partnership, right? I didn't have the money all on my own, right? I needed to partner with someone. And we always talk about raising capital, right? In businesses, well, raising capital is about raising relationships.
Wow.
And
Raising capital is about raising relationships.
Yep. It's about raising relationships. So the next two buildings, like honestly, we already knew what we were doing. We knew our concept. The bank that we got our funding through knew our concept. They've been seeing us for a while. The funny thing is so I was introduced to the bank on a different deal that didn't end up working out. Right.
Okay.
And I always have tried to remember that relationships are worth cultivating. And even though I didn't have a deal, I knew that I needed to cultivate the relationship. So what ended up happening was that person who was a branch salesperson, by the time I was ready for my next deal, was a VP at the bank.
Wow.
Right.
But how did you cultivate that relationship? I'm just interested to know that more. Is it calling randomly here and there? Is it popping up? Is it sending an email? Like, how did you do that? I'm just interested to know a little more about that.
I referred him business.
So what's better than that?
But before I even went to do business with him, I referred him people that were doing business with him, right? And being in real estate, my job is to know people, to know what's going on, to kind of be able to connect those people. So before I did a deal with him, I'd already referred 4 deals to him, right? So when he went to the committee and talked to the committee, not only were my finances in line, but they could see the fruit of my relationship. And when you're going to work with, these smaller community banks, relationships for them are everything. So, I think the best thing that you can do if you want to build a relationship with someone who owns a business is to figure out how you can help them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Laser on. How can you help the business? If you deem that this is a business or a partnership that's viable for you, how can you provide them value before you ask them for anything? Yep. I love that. Alan, this has been amazing. I'm glad we just got to just talk, man. Not all the time that brothers just get to just have a conversation. This platform this is why we created it, just to have that conversation that all the barriers come down and it's just a one-on-one dialogue. And how can we learn from each other? How can we take this conversation and help somebody else? I learned a lot as an up-and-coming developer, as somebody that inspired to sell hundreds of million dollars of real estate. I've learned a lot, and I just wanted to, thank you on behalf of me, Black Men Ventures, for taking your time to talk to us today. Tell me what's your handles? Where can we find you? And your book, and put your book up one more time.
Yeah. So it's on Amazon. 50 Things Your Real Estate Agent Should Tell You, but probably won't. 50 Things Your Real Estate Agent Should Tell You, but probably won't. You can go on Amazon and buy it. All the proceeds go to our nonprofit, Be a Blessing Foundation. 100% of the proceeds go there. You can catch us. We were just featured on HGTV House Hunters.
Okay.
So you can catch us on your on demand.
Is that you and your wife, or is it like your realty team, or?
Yeah. So we ended up having 2 members of our real estate team. Me and another agent on our team were on there. We just debuted probably about 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I think the title is "Be My Agent." Be my husband, not my agent. Be my husband, not my agent. So I'm not going to tell you what the episode was about. It was a really dope episode. It was so dope that we are recording another one.
Okay.
That would be cool.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So we do that. I'm on Facebook. I think and really quick before I leave, man, I just think I want to give some people a little bit more tangible, some things that I'm thinking about here, if you don't mind. I want to talk a little bit about leadership, right? And when I say that I've sold $100 million worth of real estate, I didn't sell $100 million worth of real estate on my own. It was a group. We lead a 10-member team. Most of our team looks like us, which is awesome. And we sell homes throughout the DMV, throughout DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And being a leader is different than being a business owner, right? So
okay.
I had to become a better leader, and that was independent of being a better business owner, right? So as people are starting to build your skill set, if you are going to build a business that is going to involve people, not only do you have to understand of your business that can take you to the next level. So don't think that those
by development with the business, and how you presented it as development as a looked at it separate.
It is.
Wow.
It's very different.
Wow.
You know,
I do know, and just looking at business owners, and know that, it seems like you as an individual or your business will never grow above who you are, right? So you have to continue to explore and grow and look at different ways to present, become a better leader. You definitely have to do those things if you think that your business, or if you have a desire for your business to grow as well. I 100% agree to that. I want to learn more about why you feel like that they are different, though, as far as being a good business leader. I mean, being a good business owner,
because they're getting on the phone, that, right?
Yeah.
Able to cope in having to do that, right? In different personalities, different seasons of their life. And what works for one person oftentimes doesn't work for the other.
Yep, totally different.
Right. So I think that the best way for those business owners out there that are, solopreneurs, right? That, and I was a solo. To the coaching and all that good stuff is there. Colin Powell's book and what their temperament is and how they operate around people. Because for me to do
it. Affirmations of reading something of how that kind of will depict what you see and what you do in your life. So it's very good, man. I must say I have to agree. I think that if we don't separate the business owner, successful business owner, and what those traits look like, and we attach the business leader, we don't put enough emphasis on leading. We just put the emphasis on, is our business growing or is our business winning? And winning doesn't necessarily mean that, your team is happy, you have a successful environment. It doesn't necessarily mean all of those things. So
sell so many houses.
Yeah.
Right. I'm capped by my time. I'm capped by, just what I can do.
You only got 2 hands, 2 feet.
But if I can lead 10 hands, right, doing and involving and being a great team and interject and be the type of leader that they need to be at their next level, then inherently I am going to be able to, our business is going to be able to produce more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Leadership first. Leadership. I'll make sure I put all the tags on the video. Until Thank you on behalf of Black Men Ventures and Jonathan King. Last words.
Yeah, you guys out there who are watching this, especially you business owners, think about donating to Black Men Ventures. It is a wonderful, wonderful organization. You know, have the time. Maybe you got an extra couple $100 that you can inject into what they're doing, and if you don't have, interject your time and if you find value in Black Man Ventures, to make sure that you put value back into it.
Appreciate that, man. 100%. Thank you so much, Alan. And until next time, brother, we'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.